this is Afsha, a teacher at Elizabeth High School and Junior College. Welcome back to my class. In our previous classes, we have already completed part B from the unit 5 of class 9. Now it is a time for the part C, and the name of our topic is the ham radio, and the theme is the same, that is the disasters. So without wasting our time, let us move forward towards our lesson in detail. The world is not a very safe place to live in these days, as disaster and terrorism can strike at any moment. So we all know that in this present era, no one is safe because of some natural disasters and terrorism, obviously. So these two are the things that are making life difficult in this present era. Communication is the only relief in times of disaster, and hence need for an efficient disaster management system becomes imperative in public places and even in business establishments and important commercial joints where people move around in large numbers. So what it is saying here, when such kind of disasters takes place, communication is the only relief, because if people, the victims we can say, who are the sufferers of that disaster, if they inform the others, then only somebody can help them. So for that, communication plays a key role in the relief of the disasters. So here it is saying that is what the reason that need for an efficient disaster management system. Whenever you are in the public places, whenever you are going to establish a business and etc., you have to keep in mind that there is a disaster management system that is present over there. Disaster might strike in the form of natural calamities, terrorist attacks and accidents. Thus, an efficient disaster management system which will work in adverse condition is needed. So, disaster, as I have told you, it may be natural like floods, earthquakes, tsunami and etc. It may be natural, or on the other hand, it may be the terrorist attack or the accident, right? So that is what the reason highly effective disaster management should be established. Disaster management crew must be well trained and equipped with the best appliances which might help them to communicate the condition they are in and the status of the calamity in the region they work for. So the team that is working in the disaster management should be well trained and highly equipped. They should be provided with suitable equipment that can be useful at the time of disasters. In times of natural calamity like floods, storms or fire, the usual mode of communication like phone, mobile etc. might not work or might become inoperative in the calamities. We are saying that communication plays the key role, but how they are going to communicate, that really matters, because at the time of natural disasters like floods, earthquakes, tsunamis and etc., what will happen? There will be no network in your mobile phones and the other gadgets, right? Technological gadgets we can say. Underground communication lines get disabled due to flooding. Cell towers are blown over or simply choked due to high utilization. Backup generators run out of fuel or are filled up with water. This is where ham radio or amateur radio we can say comes into picture. At this time, the only equipment or the only means of communication will be the ham radio or the amateur radio, because there is no problem of the charging, the networks and etc. Using HF, that is high frequency radio sets, messages can be conveyed or relayed to long distance. Accurate picture of situation on the ground, requirements and key information could be sent to disaster response team. So with the help of the ham radio, anyone can pass the information to the disaster response team. Then ultimately somebody will come to help them out. With amateur radio operators, you have a ready workforce that is efficient with regard to communicating with each other efficiently and effectively. They are known for innovation and at adapting to situations. So, with amateur radio, there will be certain teams that will be meant for the disaster management. Unlike commercial systems, amateur radio is not dependent on terrestrial facilities that can fail. It is dispersed throughout a community without choke points, such as cellular telephone sites that can be overloaded. So as I have told you, unlike the other things like mobiles or whatever the internet and etc., amateur radio does not require any terrestrial facilities. That is what the reason it can be useful at the time of the disasters even. Amateur radio operators are experienced in improvising antennas and power sources, and most equipment available today can be powered by an automobile battery. So coming to the amateur radio operators, they are experienced, they are expert in improvising their antennas. So day by day they are improving that, and power sources and most equipment available today can be powered by an automobile battery even. Annual field days are held in many countries to practice these emergency improvisational skills. Amateur radio operators volunteers to help as and when needed. However, there is no national database on active operators who can be called upon during any disaster, and also if they have right setup, which means ready to go on air gear at short notice. Amateur radio operators can use hundreds of frequencies and can quickly establish networks trying disparate agencies together to enhance interoperability. So what it is saying here, amateur radio team will be ready to go, right? So whenever they are called at the time of emergencies, at the time of the disasters, they will be ready for going. So they are well trained and they are the well experienced candidates. In the Gujarat earthquake on the 26th January 2001, amateur radio operators of Gujarat commenced disaster relief communications within hours of the tragedy. So one example have been given, that is of Gujarat. In Gujarat on 26th of January 2001, one earthquake occurred. So at that time, amateur radio operators of Gujarat commenced disaster relief communication within hours of that tragedy. With the help of hams from various parts of the country, an emergency traffic network was established to exchange information to various parts of the country. It helped to connect various parts of the country at the time of the disaster. So that was the example of the natural disaster. Now coming to the other one, that includes September 11 attacks. That was the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center in Manhattan in 2001, the 2003 North America blackout, and Hurricane Katrina in September 2005, where amateur radio was used to coordinate disaster relief activities when other systems failed. So these were the examples where the ham radio was the only equipment that was useful when compared to the other things, because all the other equipments were failed. On September 2nd, 2004, ham radio was used to inform weather forecasters with information on Hurricane Francis live from the Bahamas. On December 26, 2004, an earthquake and resulting tsunami across the Indian Ocean wiped out all the communications with the Andaman Islands, except for an expedition that provided a means to coordinate relief efforts. Recently, amateur radio operators in the People's Republic of China provided emergency communications after the 2008 Sichuan earthquake, and US hams did similar work following Hurricane Ike. So these were few examples where amateur radio helped all the human beings at the time of natural as well as the man-made disasters. But cyclones, earthquakes or floods are not everyday events. What we see every day is that someone in the remote place is struggling for life, awaiting the arrival of an essential drug from another town, or someone has lost a dear one because medical attention could not reach him on time. All this happens because most often communication is slow or impossible. Hams have special section to handle medical and other emergency traffic on their daily nets. So not only these disasters, but at the time of medical emergencies even, hams radio will be helpful, because many people nowadays are losing their lives because they are unable to communicate at the time of emergencies. So at that time one can contact the hams radio. How to become a radio amateur? So amateur radio operators have to qualify in an examination conducted by Ministry of Communications, Government of India, and obtain license for operating a radio station. So till now we have understood the importance of the radio, right? So now how you can become a radio amateur, how you can open your own radio station. So for that you need to qualify an examination that will be conducted by the Ministry of Communications, or MASCOM, we can say mass communications, conducted by the Government of India. And after qualifying that exam, you will be provided with a license to open a radio channel or a radio station, we can say. Now coming to the age that is required to become a radio amateur. So any individual about the age of 12 years is permitted to appear for amateur station operator license examination, and no educational qualification is prescribed. So it is not mandatory that you should be a graduate, you should be a postgraduate and etc. Only requirement is you should have crossed 12 years of age. It takes just 2 months, like daily 2 hours training will be given to become eligible for the examination. One should qualify a simple test conducted in 3 subjects, and those 3 subjects will be Morse code, the second will be communication procedure, and the third will be basic electronics. So these are the three subjects in which you have to qualify the test for becoming eligible for the examination conducted by the government of Telangana. The officer in charge, Wireless Monitoring Station, Department of Telecommunications under Ministry of Communication, Government of India is the authority for conducting these tests in their own town, provided there are sufficient number of applicants. So one department has been set up for conducting this examination, and it can be conducted in their own town provided there are sufficient number of applicants. The licenses are issued by Wireless Planning and Coordination Wing of DOT, Government of India after passing the test. You can know more details from the website, that is www.hamradio.in. So this is the website from which you can get more information about the ham radio and the process to become a radio amateur and etc. I hope you all have understood the importance of ham radio, how it will work at the time of disasters and etc. So let us stop it here itself, and we will continue in our next class. Thank you.